And the things I did that in that game, I would never even think about doing in real life.
No.
Well, like I would. Well, of course, I used cheats, so that made it more fun. I'd get a tank, and then I'd turn the gun around, and I'd start going, and I'd just keep shooting, and it would propel myself, and I would see how fast I could go.
Just using the turret?
No, I would use the big gun, because the big gun would shoot, and the force of the bullet coming out of the gun would just propel me.
Yeah.
But it also was hitting the cop cars behind me, and so my stars kept going up. And I'd have like the helicopter following me.
Oh, jeez.
And then it'd get to the point where the tank couldn't do anything, and I'd run into a hiding spot and stand there for a few minutes until the stars went back down. Or I'd get pulled out of the tank and they'd kill me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I never even really thought about that in real life. I never, But I was also the same kid when I was younger. I played war. I had toy guns. I played war. I played airsoft when I got older. And
Well, maybe that's why, is because when you were a little kid, right, we didn't get the chance to have such graphic and realistic, look at me. And don't get me wrong, there was one column where someone said that Call of Duty looks nothing like war. It's way bloodier than real war, which I can't speak from experience.
Right.
I don't know. But I do know that because of photography, that photography was one of the reasons that we changed the way we viewed war back in World War II.
Right.
Because we got to see for the first, one of the first few times, because obviously we've had photography for years before this, we have Civil War pictures.
Right.
But we didn't have the ability to take quick photos, like we did in World War II.
Right.
World War II, you just click, 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 click. That was the first war we ever got to see from the battlefield onto the paper.
Right.
Right. And so that's what changed war in everyone's mind. So for us growing up as kids, even just me and you, because we were born, the early 90s, we didn't have the kind of incredibly graphic imagery whenever even if we played a violent video game.
Right.
Like I played Ratchet and Clank when I was a kid, right? You explode robots. That's cartoon,
okay.
Right? Like you're it takes place in outer space. You're an alien, and most of the people you shoot are robots. Sometimes they're living beings. But guess what? When the living beings explode, a giant goo puddle just kind of comes out of them. Right? And it's green.
Right.
So it doesn't look like blood. Doesn't resemble humans. Right.
Right.
It's just cartoony violence.
Right.
Kids now, however, don't play that. That's the joke online where it's like Pokemon. Who it's made for? Kids. Who buys it? Adults. Call of Duty. Who it's made for? Adults. Who buys it? Kids. Right? So it's kind of like that.
Well, and it goes to the parenting, because their parents have to let the kids have to buy these games for kids.
Agreed. But I think that's part of the reason is that, parents don't pay attention and they wonder why, the kid starts acting angrier.
Right.
Well, you let little Jimmy shoot 50 people a day in this video game. Why do you think he's acting out at school?
Well, and then you've also somebody brought this point up to me the other day, because I went to a training that they're starting in schools. You remember in school how they used to lock the door when you had a lockdown and you'd hide in the corner?
Yep.
Yeah, that's not a thing anymore.
No.
No, they have a new training. It's called Alice. It's essentially like a progressive form of hey, if you can jump out the window and get out of the building, go.
Yeah.
You have pretty much 3 different options. You can try to run, try to find a safe place to get out.
Yep.
If you can find it, go. If you can't, if you decide that, say the teacher would be the one making this decision.
Yep.
But, anybody would make this decision, but they would decide whether they were going to, they had a safe way out, or whether they were going to barricade themselves. And we're not talking about, locking the door and then everything's sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
We're talking putting tables, chairs, books,
everything
projectors, anything that you can in front of the door.
Yep.
Because what they figured out is with mass shooters is they're trying to get that number up. How many people could they get,
Yep.
And, if they come across a room, even if they get the door open a little bit, you think they're going to spend, even if the door pulls out, say they pull the door out and there's, 50 chairs sitting there stacked up all the way to the ceiling. You think they're going to take the time to sit there and try to push those chairs away?
No, not at all.
No, they'll probably go to the next room.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with a lot of violent crimes. The person who's committing it, true, like I hate to say this because it's just into the topic of like rapists.
Right.
They're not looking for the most attractive woman
Right.
on the street. They're looking for the most defenseless.
Right.
Usually women. Let's just say that. Usually women. Sometimes it's guys. Sometimes but they're looking for the most defenseless person on the street.
Right.
Not the most. If you are a bombshell, but you look like you can kick ass, they're not going to mess with you.
No.
Right.
Not at all.
That's why one of the biggest things is people, for people who teach, defense against it, is what do? You make as much noise as possible. You fight. You claw. You bite. You punch. You do whatever you can.
Right.
Because someone is not going to want to attract attention.
Right.
Right. If you end up being a harder time for them than they want, they won't deal with you.
Right.
Right. It's a power thing. And same thing, with people who do stuff like mass shootings. They don't care, about people.
Well, and
but they care about themselves.
Well, one of the points they brought up is one of the fears that teachers would say, or that teachers said when they went through this training. They're like, well, you'll make him mad, and the guy's like, he's already mad. He's killing people.
You can't make him much madder.
I don't know how much worse it could get.
I'm sorry, that's hilarious.
No, but it's the whole point is they've taught this to the schools, they've taught this to the students, and finally the students are like, finally something that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
I had a teacher say once when I was in school, she's like, listen, I know this is a drill right now, but she said, if we had a lockdown or an evacuation drill, I'm jumping out this window and I'm running over to that church. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna pray. I'm like, I'd probably be right, but I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You're locking yourself into a room. And you've got windows.
You put yourself in a corner. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
in Sandy Hook, that was one of the things that proved ineffective.
Was the assault
because there was a teacher who locked all of her students in a closet and stood in front of the closet. And he just came in with an AR and he just mowed it down.
Yeah.
So, anyway, if you can run. If you decide you're going to barricade, do a damn good barricade. And I mean, they even said, because these guys, they're from Grambling, they're the Grambling police.
Yeah.
They have their own, and they actually are starting their own company. So if there's anybody outside of Grambling that wants this training, they'll charge you for it, but they'll be happy to give it to you. But it's like, the entire Grambling school district is trained now, and it's kind of like, if you can run. If you can't, you can't. But they found out if they take pieces of fire hose, and you know how a lot of the buildings around schools, you have like that hinge system, or that where it kind of comes out.
Yeah,
it's attached to the door, and it kind of comes out, and it comes back,
I know what you're talking
and it's attached to the door.
Yeah.
It's got like an arm on it.
Yeah, it brings it back, yeah.
They found out if you put a piece of fire hose over that arm when it's folded, you can't open that door.
No, it's a mechanical disadvantage, yeah.
Right. So, they're teaching people all these. But the third option is, if you can, to subdue the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, say you've got someone on each side of the doorway, and they run drills about this. So when the guys did the training with the teachers, they have one of the cops to be a bad guy, and he said, the guy said he actually makes a really good bad guy.
Yeah.
And he had told us that there was something that a group of people did that he had never even saw coming. Because he said there's this thing called like the OODA loop. You literally have to, you get into a room, you pick a target, then you got to aim, you got to focus in on that target, and then you shoot, or then you do whatever you're gonna do. But if you have a whole bunch of kids, and they teach younger kids to just kind of run around in circles, make them as much chaos as possible, because they'll get in there and they'll start, trying to find someone, and everyone's moving around and throwing stuff at them, and it just keeps throwing their OODA loop back to the beginning where they're trying to select a person, and then that way it can someone could probably lop them upside the head with a fire extinguisher
by the time,
and boom, lay on top of him, call the cops, you're good. And one of the things they brought up is he said, he was the bad guy and he was going through, and he's literally, he runs into a classroom, and he runs into the room, and two people are standing right next to the doorway, literally knock him down and lay on top of him. And it's like, boom,
So
that person's down.
They were doing what?
They were doing a drill.
Yeah, no. So what do two people do?
They were standing right
either side of
against the door,
Yeah.
one on each side, and when he ran through the doorway, they tackled him.
Nice.
And knocked him down before he had a chance to do anything, because they used like little airsoft guns.
Yep.
And so then that way they could actually simulate, shots and who got hit and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he said, I never even saw that coming. He said, I had no clue. I walked into the room and I was, but it's things like that. If somebody's just looking for a number, they're going to walk straight into a room. They're probably not going to look next to the doorway.
No.
When you walk into a room, do you look, do you walk like halfway and look in the doorway and then keep going? No, you walk fully into the room and then you turn around.
Well, if you're a crazed maniac and you're doing something like that, no. I think if you were being a little more tactical with it, you'd be like.
Well, yeah, I mean, cops do it,
Yeah.
but I mean, if normally just
No.
anybody out of the blue, you walk into a room, you're just gonna walk right
in
into
the room
exactly.
and find out who's there. Yeah.
And then from there, your loop starts and you're gonna pick a target. So it's one of those where it's an actual advanced training.
Yeah.
And they're teaching these these students. And there was another officer who said he played the bad guy, and they started saying, if you have a PA system,
yeah,
and you can people can communicate, start yelling out over the PA system what he's wearing. Yell out a description where he's at, because then where are they going to go? Away from where they said that they were just at.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the other cops acted as a bad guy, and he walked into the room. Somebody shouted out over the PA exactly what he was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Guy about this tall, black shirt, black pants, in this hallway." He literally couldn't get into any room. They all had him barricaded before he could even try.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like this is a new. But talking about some of the other stuff we were talking about.
Where did we come from?
Exactly? I don't remember.
We just went on the world's biggest tangent. I feel like, because we started off stealing Spielberg, and now we're at guns.
Right. How did we get this far?
We started talking about Netflix and some of the
Netflix
irresponsibility of stuff, and then we got to parents and
to violence,
and then we got to school shootings.
Right, but I was trying to figure out because I was going to come back around and make a point.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Me either. Either way, I don't even know anymore. So back to Steven Spielberg, because that's where we were at.
Sorry for those of you who were trying to keep up, but we just don't know where we went.
I don't even think we caught up to where we were at.
No, not at all.
But they do say the giant conversation, so it'll all connect back eventually.
There you go.
Anyway, so Steven Spielberg does not like the fact that Netflix is some of the Netflix original movies are in the running for
the Oscars.
I'll
tell you one other thing I don't like. I don't like this hasn't have to do with the Spielberg part of it.
Right.
But I don't like how close the time frame from the Oscars that the cutoff is, because there's a cutoff for the Oscars. It's like X amount of months, before the Oscars take place.
Right.
Right. Or has to be before the year, and so whatever. I don't like some of the cutoffs, because it's like, the movie has to come out by X date. It's like, okay, well, if they come out in December, they're gonna play through February.
Right.
They're gonna play for 60 days if it's a good movie.
Right.
So I can't imagine what. That's why it's a joke. Oh, all the Oscar movies came out this year, or it's Oscar season. Well, yeah, because all the movies that are gonna be made it's like. However, if you go back, what was made like in early 2017. There's
the Golden Circle.
I don't know.
Jumanji.
Okay, but that's what I mean. Like there's a bunch of stuff that was made in 2017 that probably could have compared to some of the stuff from
Netflix.
From not even Netflix, but even from the regular Oscar
right
things, right? And for me, especially as just a regular moviegoer, not a critic,
mm-hmm.
Except like a bad one. Because the Oscars are just critics awards. That's it. It's like kind of like the Golden Globes. They're just critics.